Hey guys, I'm just doing a quick little tutorial here. So today I'm going to cover how to add a image to your viewport, how to bring up the rule of thirds rulers onto your viewport, as well as how to then eventually add that image to your render, and how to perspective match something into the scene. So to quickly cover why we're doing this, it's important for architecture visualization, but also potentially any other like still image renders that you want to do, where you've made a CG object, but you want to blend it into a normal scene, and normally you would do so within Photoshop. But before that, you can prepare exactly where you want your image to be, make sure its perspective matches up, etc. So what we're going to do first is the easiest one. We're going to add the rule of thirds ruler to your viewport. This is a very basic composition for like layout style. The first thing you're going to do, you're going to want to press plus in the top left corner of your viewport. In there, you will have a button which says configure viewports. When you open up, this little menu pops up. We want to be going to one called safe frames, and I'll explain why in a second, but you want to unlock the title safe and user safe. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put 60 in one box and 0 on the other on user safe. And then you're going to put those same numbers, but inverted on title safe. 0 and then 60. You're then going to make sure you check the title safe and user safe box. You're going to hit apply. You're going to hit OK. Now, it doesn't look like anything's changed yet, because if you don't already know how to bring up your safe frames, you need to hit Shift F. Now you can see we have a 3x3 grid, which is balanced out for the rule of thirds. So to explain what safe frames are very briefly, when you set up a scene for rendering, you apply a resolution. The viewport does not necessarily view it through that resolution that you've prepared. So if you hit Shift and F, that will show you the same scene that your camera is going to see. So you see the black bars on the side. For me, you may have black bars in different places depending on your render sizes. You might not have any black bars at all. This is just to show you what is being seen in the render, which is really nice and useful. So now you can position your object and say, make it abide by the rule of thirds. Nice and simple so far. We're going to go back to that menu. So once again, there's that little plus. We're going to go to configure viewports. We're going to add a background, the background tab. So there's quite a few different things you can use. Use environment background is something we may be using later, as that can pull from an environment map, which I will be showing you how to make later, regardless. But for now, we're going to use file. So it's going to light up all these menus, and all you need to find is this button here, files. And it will take you to whatever you last opened. My image is already here. You'll need to find your image here. Click on it, click open, and hit OK. Now you can see we have a background image. Nice and simple. But just to showcase what's happening here, I'm going to press F9 to render. Touch that. I'm going to add a dome light real quick, and now I'm going to render. As you can see, the house is just on its own. It is not rendering the background, which is fine. Right now, all this is a viewport display. So why do we want to do this? For perspective matching. So what we can do now is we can perspective match this house so that it looks like it fits within the image. So to do that, on the right here, there's a little toolbar called Utilities. It looks like a spanner or a wrench. When you click on that, there's a tool here called Perspective Match. Then all you're going to do is hit Show Vanishing Lines. These are going to bring up these red, green, and blue lines, which may be a little difficult to see. But you have your blue for your Z-axis, your green for your Y-axis, and your X for your red for your X-axis. So what we're going to do is we're going to find some nice points in this image to line these up. So we're going to start with our Z-axis, as that's the easiest. Just find some nice vertical lines, such as that wall there. And one in a different place. Also going to use a wall. Helps if you get these nice and accurate, but like you don't spend forever on them either. So with the red lines, we're going to see, we can see our axis corners in the bottom. So we have our Y-axis facing out back and our X across. Now, we can see also on these red lines that they're going across this way. So we want to find a nice place for them to match up. So I'm going to move the house using middle mouse button to just move the scene, or actually moving the object. And I'm just going to cross that red line across there. And I want to move this red line across this path. Remember, you're looking for nice straight lines. This is not going to be easy in every scene, and you may see issues like this. This is fine. This is normal. Like, while you're matching the perspective, things may look scuffed. Now we're going to take our y-axis and we're going to move it along here. It's done some flipping. Because there's not many other good places for my y-axis, we're going to just move it along here. And now, you'll notice if I move this part of this house, you'll notice that the perspective, is actually pretty good. Like, put these walls straight next to each other, they look relatively continuous. Now, depending on the image you have, this is going to be harder or easier. In this case, this was relatively easy for us because I chose a nice straightforward image with a lot of straight lines in it. But if you were to, say, do in a field, you're going to have a hard time. Now we can just turn off the perspective match, and this is all sorted. Now be careful, because if you have something like the rotation tool, or you use other ways of rotating your camera than moving the scene around than your middle mouse button, you may accidentally rotate objects and you'll have to realign your perspective match, because as you rotate your camera and scene, the perspective match gets rotated with it, even though the image stays in the same place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to disable this image real quick. So we're going back into our configure viewports from the plus, going back to backgrounds, and we're just going to remove the file and press OK. The reason why I'm doing that is to show you how we're going to bring the image in several other ways. So the next one we're going to do is through an environment map. This is another way you could achieve the same result. You can press 8 on your keyboard, which brings up the environment and effects menu. This one is nice and simple. You can set a color, you can set a map. And what is a map? Well, if we go into our material editor by pressing M, we can add a new view by right-clicking. I'm going to call it background. And I'm going to add a bitmap, in this case a Vray bitmap, due to the fact that we are using Vray renderer. So when I bring that in, it wants to use a picture, so I'm going to pick the same picture I was using. And I'm going to just drag this into the map and make it an instance. So check using map. Now, as you can see when I render, oh no, we have tons of grids. That is fine. There's a really easy fix to that. Stop this render. We bring back up our material by pressing M once again. What we can do is we can scroll down in this menu on the bitmap all the way down till you find coordinates. All you're going to do is click from texture to environ. And then when I render again, you can now see that we have a render with a background. Now you may notice there's another problem here. The building is clipping through, or should I say the background is clipping through the building and is semi-transparent. I'm going to show you how to fix that too. So we're going to go into our render setup. We are going to go into, I believe it's Vray, and then environment, and we're going to check this box called GI environment. As a heads up, you can press F8 to open this menu faster, rather than clicking the little gear with the on the teapot up here, or sorry, F10. So we're going to check GI environment, and we're going to do a test render. Once again, I'm going to press F9. And now you can see we are no longer clipping through. Perfect. So with this, you can be ready to export your render out using different types of elements. That's something I will cover in another video, but for now, this is pretty much all there is for this one. Some other common fixes I will show you real quick, just in case. We should have, we would normally have a Vray light source. In this case, we use a dome light, which you can find up here. This will just create a whole dome around the scene. It has many useful features. Now, when we put it in, you can see now the screen is white. It's blocking out the environment. If that is happening, scroll down on the right under its properties, so you can find it under here. Under your modify tab, which is the second tab along, or having it selected, go to your options, and there is a checkbox there which says invisible. And you can render from there. And see, once again, it has returned with your lighting. Now, several types of Vray lights, like the sunlight, may also need to be turned invisible to allow for certain lighting conditions. And they may try to replace the sky. You don't want to replace the sky, as you have a map. There is a map option here, and I will admit I do not know what it does currently, so let's have a quick look. Try out this up. So we can drag our image in from the material editor once again, and it loads it as a map. And let's re-render. And it tries to make a lighting map. As you can see, there's some attempts at a reflection here, essentially. So that's an issue. We don't want that, so to fix that, we're just going to uncheck that. But for now, I think that is everything. You have a nice basic render that's has gone for a perspective match. So I'm going to show you once more, just before I end. Go into our configure viewports. We go to our background. We can either use the environment background, which is the menu from 8. It will load the same map. Or we can use from file. So we're going to set this from a environment background. And as you can see, our environment's there. And in the scene, it all looks lit properly. So the viewport may look overexposed. Do not worry, your final render is all that matters. Anyway, if you have any questions, please leave them below. Thank you for watching.